Because, what I've read out to you earlier about addiction, it doesn't just apply to one substance, it applies to anything. After the session on the circuit, he was clear thinking. He was communicating me on a different level there. It's about choices, isn't it? Making the right choices for yourself. Self-care is right top priority.
Yeah, absolutely.
Top priority.
This is the age of the multidimensional self.
Hi there, it's Kelly here from Divine Alchemy Healing, and I'm delighted to welcome Rodney back, who's going to tell us all about the use of radionics in the treatment of addiction. So hi Rodney, how are you today?
Hello, I'm very good, thank you.
Good.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk a little bit more about my work.
It's an absolute pleasure, and your videos always do so well. I think everyone's really interested in what you've got to say. So let's talk about addiction then.
Yes, well, I was a specialist addictions nurse, worked in various agencies, and what actually brought me into the realm of addiction was my background in acupuncture. And I was given the opportunity to work with an organization called the Society of Biophysical Medicine. And they were setting up a project in Liverpool. Now, the place is important because Liverpool was having an epidemic of heroin addiction at the time. We're going back a long time now. And 35 years, somewhere around there. I can't quite remember, but it was a massive problem. And nobody really knew what to do about it. It was, they were literally scratching their heads. And as a group, we all had sort of clinical science backgrounds and acupuncture. So that kind of was the nature of the team, as it were. And we wanted to formulate, first of all, find out whether the method would work or not, but also to formulate it in a simple way that it could be replicated very easily. You didn't have to be huge, you didn't have to go through a lot of training to do it. Anybody could learn how to do it and deliver a form of treatment. So the first thing we needed to do was get rid of the needles from the acupuncture approach. And we did that by using surface electrodes instead of needles. So stick on little electrodes onto the point rather than piercing the skin. And so we started to do this, and we set up a sort of a trial clinic. It was actually based right in the centre of Liverpool, in New Zealand House in Water Street in Liverpool. I saw that building again. It was where that unfortunate thing happened, where the guy crashed into that crown in Liverpool. It was just outside the clinic that I'm talking about now. And it was a football event, wasn't it? Where it was really unfortunate. Nobody was killed in it though. But I saw my building and I thought, well, that's where that brings a lot of memories back. And when we set it up and we got it running, and it became very successful because the system worked. One of the important elements of the system was the use of frequencies. This is pulsed electrostimulation. So we developed our own equipment. This is one incarnation of the equipment, and it has outputs with leads. They go to the acupuncture points, and you could control the frequency. And I'm not going to talk about that here, but just to give you the background. But it was very, very successful, and we had a lot of people coming in. It was people could just literally walk in. The people who had the whatever addictions, usually it was largely heroin at that time, could come in anytime. There was no waiting around, and they'd been given a session. So it was very easy to set up. We used points on the hands, fingers, the shell of the ear, and the ankles and feet. And it could be set up very, very quickly. And yes, it actually gained quite a lot of attention. Prince Charles came to open it at one point when we'd sort of established it as a running clinic. And I say Prince Charles, King Charles now, but he was Prince of Wales at the time. And he came and opened it, and he met us all. spoke to us. We told him, he spent half a day with us. He was very, very interested in what we were doing. And from then on, we trained other organizations. I say organizations, mainly the organizations were just small groups of parents, as I said, that of addicts who just got together to form a little group, and some of them made them into charity organizations, that sort of thing. But it was quite informal. And as things progressed, I then worked for a charity who had set up this system, and my job was sort of take clinical lead really as a nurse specialist, and so we saw people similar basis. People could come in, have treatments, and after some time of doing this, I felt that we could move forward, take the evolution of the approach to the next stage. Now, my background in alternative health brought me into all sorts of areas like homeopathy and radionics. And radionics is really seen as the most alternative of alternatives. It's really not really used as in a very high level, but it should be. You know, it's got an awful lot to offer. And I started to read about the work of a very, very important person whose name probably nobody will know. And he wrote a book, which I have here, called Cooperative Healing. And what we're talking about here is energy medicine. We're talking about manipulating the biofield of the body, which is something different to the acupuncture background that I started with, because with acupuncture, you're balancing quite physical energies really within the body, and you're targeting symptoms. You're utilizing a particular system. But I felt that we could move more into the biofield area, which interested me a lot because, you know, people who have worked with this sort of energy have utilized it for a great, you know, list of problems, not just physical, but on the mental, on the spiritual element of things. And they've used it to sort of balance people's lives in many ways now. An addict's life is very, very chaotic. It can be incredibly chaotic. And balance is exactly what you want to bring in to the situation for them. Now, if we just go back to the electroacupuncture perspective, what was required for that approach to work was that the individual had to come in with a high level of motivation, preferably in the process of withdrawal. So they were actually feeling some symptoms. And then you could use this electroacupuncture approach to subdue those symptoms. But what's very, very important is that you had to, during the session, you had to promote relaxation. It's an essential element of the therapy. If you couldn't promote relaxation, then you really couldn't have any lasting effect. And the other thing was that the individual needed to come in for as much treatment as they could. So we found that people, when we just set the place up, typically they were coming in maybe 2 or 3 times. Coming in, you know, first thing when they woke up, they'd come in. A little bit later in the day when they started to feel their symptoms, they'd come in again, have a session. It would make them feel better. They'd go off. And then when they later on towards the evening, and of course, evening at night was a very bad time because sleep goes right out the window. Any kind of circadian rhythm goes right out the window. So we were using the brainwave frequency model in the treatment. So we were using delta frequencies, we were using alpha frequencies, and we were using a frequency actually of 80 pulses per second. And this is a brainwave window of frequencies that goes from 80 to 200 pulses per second. I think maybe a little less than 200, but we're talking about 80, 100, up to 200. And when this frequency is applied to the body responds by increasing its natural production of serotonin. Okay, now people will be familiar with serotonin. It's the neurochemical that is raised in the body by antidepressant medication. And when people are depressed, they have a lower level of serotonin being produced by the nervous system. And particularly with heroin addiction, you have an inability to produce the endogenous opiates, the body's own endorphins, the feel-good chemicals as people know them by. And we found that obviously if you were dealing with a heroin addict and they were withdrawing, if you applied a delta frequency, which was another frequency window, a very slow frequency window between 1 and 3 hertz, then the body would respond by increasing its production of endorphin, the body's own opiate.
Yeah.
So if somebody was diminished in endogenous opiates, you'd want to give them the frequency that boosted those levels. And what we found was that if you combined the two frequencies together and gave a delta and a frequency of 80, we chose 80 actually because we started with 80 with the idea that we might need to adjust it. But 80 hertz seemed to be the one that actually produced the results. So we combined 80 with a delta frequency of just over 1 pulse and modulated them together. And we found that that would cover all addictions,
Right.
whatever the substance, because it would balance. And it kind of makes sense as well if you look at it from a neurohormone point of view, because serotonin and endorphin work together in a sort of a synergistic way to bring balance to the nervous system. So the outcome of that is improved mood, right? That's a big one. Improved sleep patterns and improved relaxation. And so when you applied that, you were looking for a change in the individual. And it could be quite quickly. You know, the sessions would be using electroacupuncture now. By applying these frequencies, the sessions would be less than an hour. I mean, that you'd set them up. You'd apply the pulses for about anywhere between 20 minutes minimum if somebody was rather agitated and they needed to stop it. But you would try and build that up to about 40 minutes. And then you would allow a sort of a downtime after the pulses had stopped, so that the frequencies could settle into the nervous system, as it were. And during this therapy, the individuals put on a very comfortable couch, ergonomic couch that you could control. And we actually bought some of these really beautiful things. They were like, they were kind of like a mattress topper, but they were filled with like feathers. And you put that on this ergonomic couch, and you just like sank into it. It was like sinking into a cloud, you know. And that's what we had for our clients. And they just sank into this cloud. We connected them up, and then their body would be, you know, we were promoting this relaxation response, which would occur after about 10 minutes or so of the stimulation being applied. And very often, if you got somebody who was actually on that point of feeling rather sweaty, rather shaky because the withdrawals, the cold turkey was kicking or whatever, you would see them go to sleep. They would actually go to sleep, on the treatment. In which case we would shut the thing down and just let them wake up naturally. And so we were basically trying to rebalance the body's nervous system. So that's the background. Where I wanted to take it further was on the emotional side of things, the things that were underlying the whole addictive process. Why did they go on drugs in the first place? What was their attitude to life? Were they, worried about what life would offer them when they come off? Because that's a whole new ball game, isn't it? You can actually get through the withdrawal, but what then? If you haven't balanced things on a mental and emotional, one could say spiritual level, if those things aren't balanced, then the fallback rate could be quite high. Now, just going back a little bit, I know I'm going forward and back a bit, but with the electrostimulation approach, the sleep pattern was very, very important. We had to bring the sleep pattern back. Now, we're talking about very physical correction here because it requires a correction of the circadian rhythm. It requires good balance between the neurohormones. And I would say that if anybody is applying any kind of therapy for addictions, unless you get back a sleep pattern, in other words, people are sleeping reasonably well through the night, waking up and being functionable, then the likelihood of relapse is very, very high. That takes a little bit of diplomacy as well when you're dealing with the clients, because what they think is a perfect sleep pattern is very often largely, not they think like 10 hours if they're not getting 10 hours. But you have to explain that a normal sleep pattern is not necessarily 8 to 10 hours sleep. Most of us don't get that. I'm happy with 5. But you need that rate, you need that pattern. That's the point.
Yeah.
So anyway, I saw it as a drawback actually that we had this very useful treatment, this therapy, but that it required both the commitment and that point to get to that point where the withdrawal was happening. What about those people that hadn't? What about those people who were using drugs of whatever nature, didn't really see a way out, and they were just sort of staggering through life? They hadn't even really met, do I want to come off? Is there a way off? They don't know. And I've had people, they come in, they've got pinpoint pupils because they've just used, in heroin or whatever. And with the electrostimulation, you can't really do a lot at that point. Now I found a way that I think gets around that, and that is the use of what biocircuits is what I think is the key. And this is not my design. This is by Leonard Eman, who wrote the book Cooperative Healing. And he was an engineer and he was a pilot in the war, in the Second World War, I believe. And if I've got that right, if I've got it wrong, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure he was a pilot, but he crashed his plane. The whole story I can't quite remember, but he crashed his plane. After the war, he had ongoing pain from the crash. And he tried all sorts of things. And the thing that gave him the relief that he wanted was going to a healer with hands-on healing. So they did the hands-on healing. It's the only thing that gave him pain relief. And his engineer's mind thought, well, some energy is being passed from that individual to me, right? So that energy surely is available to me anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I actually need to go to some key guy? Because this energy, it's part of us, it's part of our biofield. We can use this energy ourselves. So he found a way of circulating the healing energy through his own body, which he felt was akin to having that energy placed on him with the healer's hands. So now I want to show you the circuit that well, first of all, he came up with the idea that the body had its own polarity. And he had, I don't know if you can see that in his book, he puts the polarity of the hands and the feet and the top of the head and the base of the spine is negative, the right hand positive, left hand negative. And he saw this as the polarity of the body's biofield. And in order to circulate that, to get that energy moving through the system, he created a circuit, which I hope you'll be able to see this circuit. You can find this online if you can't, don't worry. Just put in biocircuits or relaxation circuits. And can you see that?
Yeah.
I'll describe it anyway to you. There is a copper gauze mat under the head. There is one on the sacrum, and there is a wire leading from the head to the right hand. So is that the left hand? Left hand. And there is a wire leading from the sacrum to the right hand. And he found that when, I mean, he tried it on himself to begin with, obviously, and he found that it produced a deep sense of relaxation, just as we were producing that sense of relaxation when we put the pulses through the body. Okay. So now I could talk to you more about Eamon. I mean, he did other things. I won't talk to you long about it because I've got other things to talk to you about. But he also used this technique where he put a healer in the circuit with another person. So two people or more were linked together. He had whole lines of people like this. Now, I would find that a little bit impractical because you need the people, you need a lot of space to do it as well. I was looking to bring this technique in that was easy. And what I used was, I'll just, if I can just draw on my whiteboard, I'll show you. I'll need a rubber because I've actually got some, I've been scribbling on it. But I'll show you the circuit that, the bio circuit that I use. If I hold that there, is that okay?
Yeah.
Right. So let me draw a stick man first. Okay. Right. So I utilized the conductive mat, which I'll describe again in a moment, under the sacrum. And I also used a conductive mat under the back of the head, like that. You can put it under a pillowcase. It doesn't need to have direct contact with the skin. So you don't actually need to remove clothing for this tree. That's another advantage. No clothing at all needs to be removed at all, right? And so what I did was I did a connection between right foot to left foot and left arm to right foot. Simple, right? So that's the circuit I used. And in order to bring in radionics, which is a healing method that utilizes healing energy, and you know, we don't have time to go into what radionics is in its entirety. It's a very big subject, but it's used for distant healing, and it utilizes the person who started it, Albert Abrahams, felt that he was tuning into frequencies within the biofield. Yeah. And that's what really radionics is. And those frequencies are then used through the body at a distance or by direct contact to balance the imbalances, the underlying cause of the disease. So what I felt we could do here to bring radionics in is to form a little tube. There's a tube, and create an antenna by just wrapping a coil around this tube like this. And then each one of these wires, instead of just going directly from one hand to the right hand to the left foot, we actually direct it through the tube. So that would go through the tube, that would go through the tube, and the line from the sacrum to the head would go through the tube. So you see you've got three wires going through the tube. And this, why I call it an antenna, because it's the output of a radionic device. So then that can go to the output of a radionic device, which is producing the frequencies. Now, radionics doesn't produce Hertzian frequencies, not pulsed frequencies like we were talking earlier. The frequencies are subtle frequencies. They can only be deducted, they can only be felt by sensitives who are sensitive to the energies, or by dowsing with a pendulum. You can dowse them to detect them, and the body becomes the detector. It's another big subject, dowsing, which we talked about before, and pendulums. But it's a subtle frequency, and with radionics, we generate it from a series of dials. It's as simple as that. And we can talk a little bit about radionics, but what I wanted to come back to is for those that perhaps want to push this forward and develop something themselves, is, right, here's the tube that I just described. There's the three circuits of the biocircuit. I haven't drawn the man in, but you can use your imagination where they go. And then I led it to, I kind of made a little radionic circuit of my own, right? So you could hook it up to any radionic box and set it according to the instructions, but I just made this very simply. It's a little ring of components called a choke coil, a germanium diode, and a 100 kilo resistor in a ring there. And then from this, you cut another little coil. In the middle of that coil, there is a crystal point, a quartz crystal point. And then that goes to a flat coil that's flat, just a ring of wire. Okay. So that is basically my little ray. Oh, and what I did was I included a flasher unit with a LED that flashes actually at a delta frequency. Now, I didn't do anything clever here. I just connected one of the, it does, even you don't really need to connect it, but I just put it in the box because there is some induction from that circuit being pulsed into the circuit. So you're moving electrons. And what I would say, I mean, I'm no physicist, but if you take just a wire, right, piece of wire, there is movement of electrons through that wire. Whatever you do with it, you don't have to kind of power it up with a battery or anything. There will be movement of electrons, and you can induce the movement of electrons in this. I mean, you know, consider the fact that we don't even know how electricity works, really, do we? We only know it by its result. But we know that electrons move along a conductive wire. So, and I believe that's important for radionics. I think that is an element of what radionics, because riding on the back of this movement, I believe, is the subtle frequencies that we're wanting to enhance. So let me think now. What we need to do now is just, I'll show you the little box that I put what I've just shown you in a little box like that. So there's the switch and there's the flasher. Yeah. Nothing clever really about it. I just got a nice looking little box. And these are the outputs that we connect up to. So we've got sacrum, head, left hand, right hand, right foot, left foot. That's what the sockets are. So now I thought, what are we going to use? Because Eamon used a copper mesh. I got hold of some metallic fabric, conductive fabric, and I connected a wire to it. Nothing clever. But I actually found that a nicer, more practical thing to use would be you could buy these sheets of conductive rubber, carbonized rubber, that are used for TENS units. We actually use them for electroacupuncture as well. But the large sheets, they're about this by that. And I slotted that under a pillowcase for the head.
Right.
And then you can put it underneath, say, a couch roll, because you don't need to be directly touching it. And then for the hands, I put a flat coil in a nice little box like this. This has advantages as well over the way we used like the handheld sort of grips like this, because we were talking earlier that whenever you give somebody something like that to hold, the reaction is you grip it like this. But what you're wanting is in your clients, in people with addictions, so you're wanting to promote relaxation, you don't want them gripping. You want them holding themselves still. So they can just rest their hand on that, right? Very simple, just like that, on there. And then for the feet, I just used a little pad of conductive material that I've just shown you. Again, you could use the carbonized rubber, put a button in it, connected it to this. You could use Velcro, a Velcro strip, and then that goes round the foot.
Right.
Right. And the wire connects to that button, and that little piece of conductive material goes to the center point of the foot, just below the pad of the foot, about here.
Yeah.
If they were my toes, and that's the pad of the foot, that would go like that. Okay. And you just tighten it comfortably. You don't even need to take socks off. It can go over the socks. Because again, as Eamon found, as Leonard Eamon found, he surmised that there was a shortwave radio frequency induction between things. He even tested it by breaking the wires and putting them near to each other. And if they were within a certain distance, the effect would still hold. So he noticed this. He actually experimented with different circuits. I mean, I've shown you a couple. I've shown you that one I used and the one in the book there. And there was also a way, if you connected it up in the opposite way, then you could create tension. Okay. So there was definitely some kind of process of feeding in subtle energy information into the body via this circuit. And now what I wanted to do with addiction was to bring in some of the elements of therapy for the mind, shall we call it, therapy for the emotions. Now, when I say that, what immediately comes to your mind when I say that is flower remedies, isn't it? Flower essences, because I'm sure everybody's familiar with the Dr. Bach flower remedies. And he utilized these all for mental symptoms, not physical at all. If you had a physical symptom, you to use it to help, but its mode of balance was the emotions, excuse me. And then that filtered through to the rest. So it's what I was looking for. So I obtained a repertory, and let's have a look under addiction. and we can see all the good stuff coming out here. Right. So under addiction, and I won't, you can spend your own time looking at this, but like the agrimony, right? That's a Bach flower essence, isn't it? These aren't just limited to Bach, this particular book, but it says use of drugs for cheerful persona, hiding true feelings. Now, isn't that true?
Yeah.
Anybody who's worked with drug addicts knows that these just resonate straight away.
Yeah.
Especially for drug withdrawal, to help soul realign with benevolent spirit guides. Angelica. Now we're getting into the spiritual, right? Now this is great stuff. Here's another one, arnica, repairing shock and trauma from drug abuse, especially when the physical and etheric integrity of the nervous system has been damaged. Every case it's been damaged.
Yeah.
You can see it in multiple ways. Aspen, use of drugs to cover fear of the unknown, to dampen sensitivity.
Yeah.
Baby blue eyes, submerges oneself in drugs due to feeling that the world is too harsh, no longer trust in the goodness of people or events. And again, people will just be getting tingles who work with drug users because they'll know how much this resonates. Then there's basil for people who, this is an interesting one, because a lot of people, if you go into the backgrounds of people who use what I would say hard drugs, I was largely dealing with these hard street drugs. They had sexual abuse in their lives going back, maybe into childhood, and basil is the remedy for that, because what that does, that trauma, that sexual trauma, is that it creates ongoing and lasting imbalances within the sexual energies of the biofield. So you have the masculine and feminine energies that should be balanced in the body. They can be out of balance. So you've got basil. Then you've got black cohosh here. Caught in relationships which are abusive or addictive, entrapped by addictive lifestyle of self or others, black cohosh. And you could go on, but I think I've made the point that this is what I was wanting, right, to bring that into the therapy. So what I simply did was, now there are different ways you could do this. If we go back to my diagram of the unit that I made, you place the remedy here. Now you could get those remedies and just place the vials on there while the person's attached to the biocircuit, and then that would feed in. So all those qualities that I've just read would then feed in to the therapy. But I did it slightly differently, because rather than buying all the bottles and which would be quite expensive as well, and we were a charity, so we didn't want to spend a lot of money. So those who are familiar with radionics know that you can imprint remedies onto substances. So now how this is done, and if I can just take a moment to remind me, will we need that again? I don't think we'll need that again. Right. So people might be wondering, who don't know anything about radionics, what is that? How do you imprint? Well, the radionic circuit is just something that's tuned to an energy. Now, the simplest way I can describe the simplest circuit I can think of to show you is a blank plate, a metallic plate. Sorry, it's not, say that's a circle, a piece of foil or something there, conducting, another one there, connected with a wire. And you would put what's known as the patient witness on one. Now, this could be a snippet of hair, a spot of blood, or a photograph. It's called the witness. Let's write that in there. It's called a radionic witness. I didn't need to use any of this because I was using direct therapy. I'm talking about what radionics is really now. And on the other side, you would put your little vial here, right? Your little vial, or two, or however many you want on there. And the idea is, the idea is that the energy sort of is they're brought together. So there will eventually be a resonance between the energy of the witness and the energy of the remedy. And that by bringing that into harmony together, even though the person is distant from that, their biofield is still around this snippet of hair or their spot of blood or even a photograph, which is amazing, but it's true. They contain like a holographic containment of the whole in the part. So if you get a resonance between that and that, the person is receiving the energy of the remedy. Is that enough?
Yeah, so with the remedies, can you write the remedies on a piece of paper? Is that what you're saying, rather than buy the remedies themselves?
That's what I'm coming on to. Okay. So what you can do instead here is a radionic device is simply a section of wire like we've got there, right? But we've got dials. And if you look at a picture of a radionic device, it's a black box with lots of dials on. So you have that. And each dial is connected to a piece of wire like that. And then the dial can be tuned. Now, just to say how you tune it, the radionic box has these dials with like arrows on the dial like this. And you have numbers all the way around each dial like that. And then part of the circuit is connected to a plate on the top of the box. And what you use over there is a pendulum, a dowsing pendulum, over the box. Now, they will usually be connected like this. So the other side of the circuit will have that plate there connected. So you put your vial here, you set all your dials to 0, you hold your pendulum over the plate, and then you turn the first dial slowly, 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 watching what the pendulum does. And at some point, the pendulum will start to go round and round in a circle like this. You note the number on the dial. Then you go to the next dial, do the same. And then, say we've got arnica here. Arnica in a bottle on there. I've got number 1. Here I've got number 3. For this dial, I've got 6. For this dial, I've got maybe 8. And that dial, I might have 2. So that is produced a radionic rate for arnica of 1, 3, 6, 8, 2. And instead, now you don't need the bottle. You can just connect and set the dials to 1, 3, 6, 8, 2, and the same thing will happen. So this is the output. So instead of the output being a radionic witness, my output was the tube with the coil around it.
Okay.
And then the wires going to the recipient of the therapy there. But I actually, with radionics, it's moved further than that, because you don't even need, what you can do is with radionic devices, you can imprint this number onto a piece of card.
Yeah.
Now, the card people would argue this, they've tried different things. The card that I like to use is, well, you can make your own. You can just cut a bit of blank videotape. I don't know if they sell videotape anymore, but I've got plenty anyway.
Right.
Cut a snippet off.
Right.
Or you can buy those sort of blank bank cards, can't you?
Oh,
I've
yeah.
seen them on Amazon.
Mm.
And they've got the strip built into them. So you can just stick it on a piece of card, and then you can imprint the energy of arnica.
Right.
Usually it'll have a different sort of output. You'll get a piece of equipment that'll go to a cup like that. Now there might be again a coil around the cup, and you'll put your card in there, and then you'll set it for a particular length of time, and you'll imprint that energy into the card. So that's what I used. And equipment comes with a list of these numbers, so you actually don't have to go through this process. You can just look up arnica and get the rate. So then I imprinted the rates for the remedies that I've just read out to you. Maybe a different combination. I tried different combinations. And then where did I put the little box? And then I made this nice little this little flower sort of thing here, because the coil is under that.
Okay.
So then I would place the card with the strip over that during the treatment.
Yeah.
So that the energetic quality would then would be received by the antenna, and then passed to the client through the other end, as it were. And that's the mechanics of it. Did that make sense?
Yeah. Is it copper wire that you're using when you say wire? Just
any conductive wire, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Do you mean for the biocircuit or the radionics?
For the biocircuit.
It doesn't matter as long as it's conductive. But most wire that you buy, just buy bell wire, any L wire, it doesn't matter. I got this wire because it looks a bit fancier if it's connected to one of those plugs, That's it. It's nothing fancy. It's just literally a wire, insulation, and a plug. So it just connects that to that electrically.
Okay.
There's nothing fancy about it at all. It's that's it. Mechanically, that's it. Yeah. Now, so what did I find? Well, the first time I was literally blown away because somebody came into the centre who had just used heroin.
Right.
I think it was intravenously, I'm not sure. He was away with it, but he could communicate all right. He was a little bit staggering about. So I got him on the circuit. He went to sleep, as I thought he would, because he not long ago he'd used anyway. But after the session on the circuit, I saw a different person, right? He was clear thinking. He was communicating me on a different level, right? He was making sense, shall we say. Yeah. I mean, yes, I could understand him before, but he was all over the place. Oh, well, what do you do? Oh, I came in here, I did hear about you, but he was all over the place. Afterwards, I could have a sensible conversation with him. And that's after, less than an hour on the session. It was really incredible. What I started to do was, I obviously wanted to repeat it, but I made a questionnaire. I wished I'd got it. I'm going back years. I can't remember what the questionnaires of all the key elements that I wanted to see change. So it included things like just general well-being, level of relaxation, level of clarity of thought, confusion. Oh, I can't remember, what a whole list of things.
Yeah.
And I asked them to score it. And I asked them to do it before and after the session.
Sure.
And literally in every case, they went from very bad to very good in every case. I mean, I've never known anything with 100% response like that before. It was literally incredible. So my hope is that somebody watching this will take up that challenge and put something together. It's very, very simple, very, very simple technically to do. And just watch the results. Now, I had 3 months of doing that before I had to pack up what I was doing, largely because there's problems in organizations and we needed to move, and where we moved to, it wasn't really suitable for doing the work that I was doing. But in that 3 months, I was totally convinced that this was a method that could be easily replicated and used. In fact, I made a number of these boxes.
Right.
I think I made about 15 at a guess, and I did some training for each one of them that I sent out. The people bought them. And I did the training, and I was getting then the feedback from all these organizations that were using it.
Yeah.
And it was all very, very positive. But then politics comes into everything, and a decree was sent out that these agencies mustn't use therapy like electroacupuncture, or any related kind of thing that would make people feel better. I find that incredible, crazy, but there we are. So all these, they stopped using them. Even though the managers of the agencies said to the head of the organizations, but it's working.
Yeah.
Right? They were saying it's working, it's producing results. They weren't interested. So let's just expose that, because I won't mention names or names of organizations, but people need to know this is the world we live in. But if you can find a way of delivering a simple therapy like that and just assessing it, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You haven't really lost a lot, have you? We're not selling equipment costing thousands of pounds here. All we're saying is, with a bit of time, enthusiasm, you need the space. The environment is important, because during the session, the individual needs to be able to relax.
Yeah.
Okay. And you need to be able to talk them through it a bit, because if somebody came in and they were actually in a wound up state, you'd need to say, well, this doesn't do everything for you. You have to do your part too, and just go with it. Just let yourself go. Drop your shoulders down if you're holding. Try and talk them down a little bit. You just start the ball rolling at the beginning of the session, and then let the session take over. And yeah, I was just blown away by what I was seeing, and I'd like that to be repeated, if at all possible. And if anybody wants to contact me and ask me questions, then fine. I'll give you whatever you want. If I know it, I'll give it to you. I'm not hiding anything.
Yeah. That's really good to know, because I was going to ask you, actually, if someone was ready and willing to take up this work, would you be able to talk them through it in a bit more depth, maybe for working with people?
I would. I just remember that I forgot to mention something. When I was showing you the circuit and how the little components.
Yeah.
I got that from that didn't just come to me into my head. That came from a radionic device that I found online called the Cosmic Pipe. Quite interesting, this.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what the Cosmic Pipe is. It's if I just draw it, just for your interest, 'cause you know, it's all part of the picture, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. So I'll just draw it. So it had a cap on the top. It was a big tube, and it had a side part that came out with a container with a cap on. Just went down like that to the bottom. So it had a coil there, coil at the top, coil there, and that was connected to that. And it had the circuit, and then it went like that. And that's the earth. So the cosmic pipe was for agricultural radionics,
Right.
right? I'll just hold this up now so you can see. So basically, it was a pipe
Yeah.
with a side compartment like this. It had a coil here, a coil here, and a coil here. This is the earth. So
Yeah.
the pipe is stuck in the earth. This is that circuit that I pointed out to you with the diode, the resistor, the germanium, the diode, and the choke coil there. Oh, actually, yes, there was also, I missed something out. I think here was there was a crystal in there, a cert with a crystal, somewhere like that. You can find it online. But this had a cap, and you took that cap off, and you could put a remedy in that coil, and then the pipe would deliver the energy to the crops.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean that's a rough thing, but I mean you can find it online, but that's what it was. And I thought that's very interesting. You know, I'll use some of that.
Yeah.
And you know, the principle's very simple, really. It's just that you can use it in different applications.
So if people had their own land or were growing their own vegetables, would you recommend them buying something like that?
I'd recommend them making it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, just easy. Just get the bits and make it. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know whether they sell it. It was just a report that's
Okay.
online. But yeah, you know, just get a piece of drain pipe, plastic drain pipe, put it together with like a T section there.
Yeah.
Coil in the top, coil in the bottom, coil at the side, and that side thing is for you to put the remedy in. So you could put like an antifungal
Yeah.
in there if you wanted to have that effect on the crops, or you could put a homeopathic remedy in. I mean, the results might differ according to what you put in it, but that's the essence of it.
I love that.
Yeah, I do.
I think I've seen something, I can't remember where, of people selling little devices. I know you said about making them, but I have seen something similar where
Yeah,
people have been doing things for like people who've got allotments and stuff or want to grow, you know, more vital vegetables and things like that. I don't know whether it takes a homeopathic remedy, but there was definitely something about transmitting energy into the earth.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And with oh, go
Go
on.
on. Yeah, sorry, you carry on there.
You said the radionics boxes. So do you make those from scratch, or do you buy a box that's suitable, or has it got some, you know, is there a radionics box that you can buy and then adapt to whatever you're doing?
There probably are, but everything that I made this myself,
Made it all.
right? I just made it. I bought, you know, all these things that you can buy the switches, you can buy the sockets. Just get it doesn't have to even be as fancy a box as that. It can be a bigger box, you know, it's a bit cramped to get it in there actually. What else is there to buy? Just those components, a bit of wire, a bit of crystal. And it does take a bit of fiddling about to make these. I'll just unfurl it so you can see what this is.
Just thinking of non-technically minded people like myself.
Right. Well, if you're non-technically minded, it's best to get somebody to do it for you,
Yeah.
because it does take.
Yeah.
I'm a hobbyist. You see, I do electronic circuits, and I'm used to soldering and stuff like that. So it was nothing. But that was and then I put a button there for the wire.
Right.
So that's all conductive. So if you have a little bleeper circuit and you put one bit on there and on the other, and it'll bleep because the conduction will go through. That's a good way of testing it,
Yeah.
because you do really like to have and then that goes behind that, one behind the head, one behind the sacrum.
Have you thought of setting up a business doing these things?
Well, one of my idea was that, somebody could make them, and sell them, but you're now restricted. Maybe not so now after Brexit. You've got more freedom, maybe, but you wouldn't be able to sell it in the EU because everything's got to be CE marked.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
See, now if you can get round that, because it's possible, because I have, they do make radionics boxes in the EU, but they get round it by making no claims for it.
Right.
So you can make something and make absolutely no claim in your literature, and then you could get round it.
Okay.
So yes, somebody could sell them, and then if they're a charity, they could make money for their charity, and preferably, I mean, they could make money for themselves, but wouldn't it be nice if somebody could set up a clinic and they could sell this and some training once they've got expert in it, and sell the equipment, sell the training, and then the money goes to reinforcing the work.
Absolutely.
It would be great.
Today we've been talking mainly about severe heroin addiction in your experience.
Yes.
We want to remind people that people have all sorts of addictions going on.
Yes.
That they could utilize this sort of work to treat.
Yeah. There's all sorts I mean, the thing is, addiction's a big subject, isn't it? I worked in it for years. You gather the knowledge, and every individual is slightly different. You've got to approach it in a holistic way. But one of the reasons why I wanted to move to this stuff is that I could use some of because what I've read out to you earlier about addiction, it doesn't just apply to one substance, it applies to anything.
Yeah.
Because the imbalance is there regardless of the substance. And people can be addicted to, as you say, anything. I had somebody who was quite severely addicted to Fisherman's Friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really addicted to them. If she stopped, she got withdrawals. It was real addiction. It wasn't just psychological. So anything that worked, and really anything that works on the nervous system, which is anything, and anything, any input, visual, sensory, taste, it can be addictive. And so, it's all about re-establishing the balance that has been created by that, what we might call obsessive behavior, obsessions. You can't go out without doing half a dozen things because that's what you're programmed to do. So your nervous system really does not like it if you don't do those things. So it's an obsession, but it's still an addiction.
Yeah.
It's the same. The process is the same. It doesn't matter. The substance, substances change, don't they? And sure, each substance brings its own problem, and its own profile.
Yeah.
But the underlying, when you strip it down, is that the nervous system has rebalanced to that behavior, to that chemical, and it needs it. And when you stop it, it doesn't know how to function.
Yeah.
So you've got to reteach the nervous system how to function, how to heal, really. And when you're promoting that relaxation, that's when the healing is going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I used to get people say to me, largely, social workers who were involved in addictions, they used to say, "Oh, you're medicalizing it. You're
Right.
medicalizing addiction." Why am I medicalizing it? I'm seeing a problem and I'm trying to apply something as a remedy to that problem, whether they be symptoms. You can call them physical symptoms, but where do you draw the line? Physical symptoms are completely tied in with anxiety, with stress, with depression, with sleep loss, all these things. Well, you're trying to apply a category to it. Oh, don't medicalize it. Do what's required to help, the individual, or to solve the problems. Don't get caught up in the words.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a quick question, do you think
Sure.
a lot of like substance, whether that's a drug or food or anything else, is a numbing, is part of a body's or a person's need to numb themselves from maybe external events that are going on or events that are still replaying within their energy system?
That happens a great deal, to block out, to shut down. And it used to find this a lot with heroin addiction, particularly. They're using it as a block to kill off the sensory world and to go into this cotton wool wrapped world.
Yeah.
And you find people with that drug chasing that feeling of being coddled in the warm cotton wool that insulates them from the world, right? And you're quite right. That is what people are looking for. That's what they're chasing. They're also chasing that initially when they first use, especially intravenous heroin, there's that euphoria,
Yeah.
which is a very powerful feeling, and it's very difficult to get after you become addicted. You can't get it anymore. You just need the drug just to function.
Yeah.
Right? So it goes from doing what you're saying, which is you're right. It goes from that to I need to take it just to literally function in a simple way, and they do that. But yes, and it differs slightly with other drugs. Take cocaine, right? The profile was different in this sense. A lot of people who were addicted to cocaine you found business people who ran their own business.
Right, that's interesting.
And people, oh, well, it's a rich man's drug. Well, it wasn't so much the money, it was the fact that they took it to keep themselves going. That they had a reason.
Yeah.
It was a different reason to what we've just mentioned. But
Yeah.
their reason was, I can function, I can think, the clarity, I can keep going, I don't get tired in an afternoon. So my day is full of productive stuff until it becomes an addiction, and then they pay for it. Then it's always you pay the piper, and the cost is high. They find then the opposite. The pendulum swings in the opposite direction, and what they had at the start, just like with the heroin, what they had with the start is they're now experiencing the opposite side of the pendulum. They're now experiencing lethargy, lack of enthusiasm, lack of ability to do their job.
Yeah.
So it's totally self-defeating. Let's take another drug. Let's take alcohol. Right? Now, actually, one of the worst cases that I saw was a young chap, and he didn't drink a lot of alcohol. He drank a whiskey or two in an evening. Right. Now, the reason was to relax. Very simple goal. Right. He was tense. He was anxious, and he felt that in an evening gave him that reward. That it seems like a reward to begin with. You relax. You get what you do, you get that reward. And then it becomes something else.
Yeah.
The more you do it, he could not go without that whiskey. If he went without that whiskey, he was an absolute mess. He went into shakes, sweats. He wasn't, and it fails to give what happens with that as well, crucially, is that it destroys your natural sleep pattern. And if you remember me going right to the beginning of the interview, we talked about the importance of returning the sleep pattern. So whenever that sleep pattern's gone, you know something serious is going on.
Well, they don't use lack of sleep as a torture device for nothing, do they?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we could go through each drug individually, but we could be here and we'd make the interview a very long one. Cannabis, I'll just quickly mention cannabis. And I saw some really extreme cases where people literally smoked it all day, every day. And what happens is they lose their awareness. Complete self-awareness is gone. And why they do it individually? Well, probably it's similar to the alcohol. They're wanting to relax.
Yeah.
But if you've got things to do, like I can remember a case where he had a very good job, actually, this particular case I'm thinking of. And he thought he was great at it. He thought, why are my bosses getting at me? Right? Maybe because you're never on the job, you're always going off to smoke cannabis. His awareness that he was doing it was gone. He thought he was doing a wonderful job. He thought he was the best worker in the factory. But he wasn't. He was terrible. He was coming in late, taking days off when he didn't feel like, it was just all. So, it's the consequences follow, don't they?
Yeah.
Once you get into the addictive cycle.
It leads us back to really recognizing the importance of self-care, whether that's even just taking a few minutes to do some conscious breathing and reset, or, doing a meditation or some tapping or some pendulum work or whatever it is, going outside, just sitting outside with your feet on the floor.
Yes.
It's so, so important, isn't it? Because
it is.
There are all ways to switch off.
Correct. And now we're moving into the realm with what you said there. It's about choices, isn't it? Making the right choices for yourself. Self-care is top priority.
Yeah, absolutely.
Top priority. So if everybody makes those right choices for themselves, which is utilizing self-care methods, then, it's a great recipe for life, isn't it?
Yeah, the sad thing about addiction is I feel like obviously a lot of these things are culturally acceptable, like alcohol, food addiction. Now,
true, very true.
Well, to get addicted to them.
Very true.
And people slide into it without realizing quite what, especially if they've got that slightly addictive personality type.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's insidious.
Yeah.
You start something, and as you say, you're right. The addictive personality it exists.
Yeah.
It really does. And so they people do something what seems quite simple and innocent.
Yeah.
And they enjoy it. It's nice. And so they want to do it more. Because you want more niceness, don't you?
Of course.
You have this cream cake. I can taste it now. Oh, a cream slice with jam. Oh, wonderful. Let's have another one. It was lovely. Oh, two. I'll have three.
Yeah.
And this is how it happens. This is how we slide into a world where you don't want to be.
Exactly. Yeah. And for some people, especially
women, balance in everything
can play, hormones can play a part in that as well, can't they? When you're
going
through certain cycles like menopause and things like that.
Correct. Do there's two things that I always say that medical science has really such a rudimentary knowledge of. One is the hormonal system, the endocrine system. The other is the immune system,
Right.
right? And those two things work together anyway. They work in a synergistic way together. And isn't it funny? Medical science knows the least about those things. And so really to interfere with those two things, you need to be very careful. And we've seen that recently with events in the world, and with what happened
Yeah.
with a certain event which was managed very badly.
Yeah.
That we know, you know what I'm talking about. And
Being very careful here because we're on YouTube.
right, yes, yeah, you can cut that bit out.
You didn't actually say anything,
I
but
didn't say anything. No,
you're very subtle.
no. Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, it is a complex subject. And of course, the way we live our lives, or a lot of people live our lives, is, you know, mainly governed by the need to earn enough money to live. So they've got to work hard and long hours.
yeah, yes, yeah,
Then they might come home and switch on the news to start to stress from the day, but the news actually creates more stress.
more stress. Yeah,
And then they're eating some fast food because they haven't got time to cook a meal. And when you look at it like that, you think, how on earth do we get through this? You know,
yeah.
I think it comes back to that taking time for self-care when you can. You know, I like
Yes,
to say to my clients that I do a whole routine when I'm in the shower in the morning, where I'm using an energy routine by Donna.
yes.
And I'm sort of doing a mini yoga session at the same time.
Sure.
I'm doing some breathing, you know, so even if I've got a really busy day, I've done something for myself as a
Yes.
point, you know.
Yeah, often it doesn't take a lot, does it?
No,
It's just a little change in your practice, just to take a little time. Um, you
even,
know, just breathing exercises.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, and we come back to the general the health, the immune system, the hormonal system that you already mentioned. Um, you know, some of the simplest things can be the most helpful. We're
Yeah,
talking about fresh air, good breath work, lack of polluted air. We don't want to breathe polluted air, do we? It can be hard to get, but you know, there's places you can go where you can breathe fresh air and sunlight. You
yeah,
know, some countries have we have a constant sunlight here, but you know, get it where you can. Get that sunlight on your body. Don't you know, don't be frightened of the sun, but be cautious. Sure, you know, you don't want to sunburn, but the sun is so health giving too. Don't see it as that huge problem to avoid. Um, you know, even here, I mean, I'm in southern Spain, sun shines all the time. I I hardly ever use sun cream of any description, none at all. I have a little tiny tube when I go swimming because it's an outside swimming pool. Just put a bit on my here on my nose. Always get burnt there. And for some reason, the top of my shoulders, so I put a little bit there and hope that it doesn't wash off too quickly because it's pretty nasty when you're in the sun, in the water and the sun, it magnifies it. But you know, I know how to manage it so I don't get burned. But I'm out and I've got very white skin. I don't tan easily, but I don't shirk from the sun.
no,
I know how much sun I can have, but I know how important it is to get in that sun.
yeah,
And even with sunglasses, I take my sunglasses off.
yeah,
Actually, these are reactor lights, but I take my glasses off and have some time so that the sun, the natural light, unfiltered, is going in. And it's just simple things. Exercise. You know, you don't really need to go to the gym to offset all these things. You go for a walk, go swimming occasionally, do a bit of gardening. If you like going to the gym, fine. I'm not saying don't go to the gym, but you know, that's not my cup of tea. I'd much sooner spend my time gardening or going for a walk and just living, just being active
yeah.
in normal life.
Yeah, I think that's the key, isn't it? I mean, I'm the same as you. I don't gyms to me with their sort of pop music going blaring and
Oh,
all of that loads of people around as well is sort of my equivalent of a worst nightmare.
yeah, mine too.
But
Mine
some
too.
people love it, and you know
They
that
do.
for that I like to do my yoga here at home, and
Yes.
I have a streaming service that I connect to when I want guidance. Um, and yeah, just trying to be a little bit active. I think moving the body and taking in the sunlight and breathing, I feel like they're such important things
They are the important
for
things.
yourself, you know.
Completely.
Yeah. Don't get obsessed with those. We don't want to hear that you've got addicted to exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. There's certain things you just can't get addicted to, though, right? And the reason why you can't get addicted to them is that they follow natural cycles,
Yeah.
right? They have the frequencies you need, and that if you resonate with them, you're not pushing anything beyond that boundary. Okay, so the boundary, that healthy um, range or window, whatever you want to call it, if you're within that, you can't have too much of it, because it's just resonating. And once it's resonating, that's it.
Yeah.
And as I say, these are natural cycles, so you can't get addicted. Actually, that's a good question because people used to ask me about the electroacupuncture with the pulses producing endorphins, producing serotonin. Can you become addicted to that? And the answer is no, for the same reason. The same reason, because when your body is underproducing, your nervous system is underproducing, those frequencies, because they are part of your natural cycle anyway, they'll bring that level up.
Right.
And that is to the normal level. The body is able to keep it at that level.
Yeah.
It doesn't need this constant. So once you've had the therapy, you can't, oh, well, I'll keep having it. You can keep having it, but it won't push it up like that.
No.
It won't make it go up here. It'll
Yeah.
just keep it there. So in that sense, it becomes impossible to become addicted to. And of course, the more balanced your neurohormones are, the less you'll feel obsessive about anything as well. The less you'll feel, ooh, I'm not having that therapy. I've got to have it. You'll just get on with your life.
Exactly. Well, Rodney, thank you so much for all this information. And is there anything you'd like to add before we go?
No, I don't think so. I think I've more or less covered it, other than just to say that I am really keen for drug workers who want to set up or maybe utilize within their own, if they have an agency where they're supporting addicts, that I would like to help with. I mean, obviously I can't be there, but I can give them whatever, if they want to ask questions or if I can help in that way, or refer them to literature or send them information, that kind of thing. Well, I'm willing to do all that, anything that would be helpful.
What about private therapists and things like that? Because I'm sure we have a few therapists that watch these videos.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Private therapy. I know a lot of people that learn these techniques and and actually practice privately.
Yeah.
There's nothing. I'm not to do it. Yeah. You do it. Obviously, you've got to, as a private therapist, and you've got to think perhaps more about the sort of legal insurance kind of
Yeah.
element there. As an agency would perhaps be able to do that as an umbrella sort of insurance for the agency's activities. But yeah, there's that side of it. I really can't help with that side of it. I don't know, but it is. I'm aware that it's an issue. You need professional indemnity insurance as a therapist, and that's we can't change that.
I wonder if, because I use red light therapy as part of my therapy, so that's just included on my insurance.
Yeah.
like whether it would sort of fall under a similar sort of thing.
I think so. I think that if you're doing sort of like energy therapy, and you say, well, this is just another form of energy therapy.
Yeah.
I've done similar things with methods and got them tacked on to the list. That's perfectly doable.
Cool. And what's the best way for people to contact you if they're interested in doing this? Is it best to go through the group and message you privately, or do you want to give an email that they can message you on?
Probably through Facebook messaging.
Okay.
I have a page called Radionic Healing.
Yeah, okay.
That's probably a good. I mean, I don't have a website. I'm retired now, so I don't have a website. I don't normally give my email out. I use it as little as I can, and but so I try to. But the other group is Pendulum.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah,
No, I can't even remember it. Pendulum dowsing and energy balancing.
Yeah, we'll put it on the screen. Energy balancing.
And I also have a radionics group as well, called Radionics Users Group.
Okay.
So there's plenty of ways people can send me a message through those.
Yeah. And also, I mean, if they drop a comment beneath the video,
of course,
you'll be
another way, yeah.
So perfect. Well, thank you once again, Rodney. It's always such a pleasure to talk and learn so much in such a short period of time. I've been writing notes as we've been going. So thank you everyone for watching. Please give the video a like, subscribe to us if you haven't. I'm sure we'll have Rodney back again soon. And yeah, thank you very much. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Circle drawn with breath and light. Pendulum swings through day and night. Golden thread, unseen hand, moves through time at truth's command. Symbols rise, the veil is peeling. This is divine alchemy healing. It is done, it is done, it is done. By moon, by flame, by soul revealing. It is done, it is done, it is done. Through divine alchemy healing. Shadow clears, the charge release. Storm to stillness, moon to peace. Ancient codes through charts unseal. What's named in truth begins to heal. Spirit speaks, the field is kneeling, touched by divine alchemy healing. I ask, I receive, I release, I believe. 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 It is done, it is done, it is done. The waters hush, the sky is still. It is done, it is done, it is done. By soul's intent and sacred will. It is done, it is done, it is done. By love, by will, by soul revealing. It is done, it is done, it is done. It says divine alchemy. see